extension. Joining me now to talk about this and other issues is Congressman Keith Ellison. Thank you so much for coming on.
Pleased to be here.
Let me ask you about the payroll tax cut extension, because everybody seems to want it, but there certainly is debate about how to pay for it. Earlier in our show, Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann was on saying she strongly opposes any payroll tax cut extension because she's concerned about what it's doing to Social Security. Your thoughts about that particular argument?
Well, I think that we can look at these things in the short term and in the long term. In the short term, families need a break. In the longer term, we do have to make sure that Social Security is strong, but we can get to that. Right now, we're talking about people putting food on the table and meeting their bills. And so, I mean, I just think that if we have put all this time, energy into tax breaks for the very wealthiest among us, what about the middle class people? And I think that we need to keep that in place for the short term until we can see ourselves get that unemployment rate down and add some more jobs. Then I think we go back to strengthening Social Security.
Are you optimistic that a deal can be arrived? Because there's been such gridlock in Washington for the past, well, for quite some time.
You know, I'm an optimist. You know, we've been through all these near shutdowns, almost defaulting, but something always happens to keep the ball rolling. So I'm confident that something will get done. But, you know, the problem is the price that the Republicans are asking for is, again, cuts to the EPA. They want to delay MAC boiler rules. Now, what that is, Esme, is these boilers, they emit a lot of pollution that causes people respiratory problems and asthma and all other kinds of stuff, and the EPA is trying to protect people's lungs, but you know, the Republican caucus is saying delay those rules that are going to protect people, and they'll go along with the payroll tax. So I just think it's an unfair position to put the American people in. You can breathe, or you can have a payroll tax deduction. I don't think it's right.
All right. This week you proposed legislation that would keep in place the current interest rate on a key student loan that many people use. That rate is expected, or is going to expire.
It's going to jump.
It's going to jump dramatically, even I believe double this summer.
Yep.
Your thoughts about that legislation and the chances of it passing, because a lot of kids are going to be affected by this.
You know, Esme, it used to be that if you worked hard, you could get ahead. You can go to college, you can have a good job, but the price of college has just gotten so high, and the price and students are graduating with tons of debt on their shoulders. You know, student debt is greater than credit card debt today. It's ridiculous. And so what we're pushing for is to extend this deal with Stafford loans, which will keep the loan rate to about 3.4%, stop it from jumping up to 6.8% July 1. It's something we can do, it's something we must do, but I tell citizens every day, if you want your government to respond to you, you got to let your voice be heard. So I'm hoping people will stand up and let all legislators know, do what you can do to keep college affordable.
All right. This Tuesday, Minnesotans will go caucuses, and most of the attention obviously facing on the Republican presidential candidates, but they also are going to caucus for Keith Ellison. They're going to caucus for Minnesota legislators. One of the issues here is that your district, like Congresswoman Bachmann's district, is going to change because you actually have too few people right now. So the boundaries are going to change. So people who think they might be caucusing for Congressman Keith Ellison might not end up in his district. Your concerns about that going forward? You
know, Esme, it's just life. I've accepted it. There will be some people who I approach this Tuesday who may not be in my district in the weeks to come, but you know what, we're going to talk to them anyway. And I want to talk to them about something important, which is voter identification. The Republican legislature, state legislature, wants to push this voter ID law. I'm against it because it will cut out seniors, it'll cut out students, it'll cut out low-income people. So I'm actually trying to get people to go to help support a resolution that we should not have a Supreme Court, a Minnesota amendment that would block people's right to the access to the ballot.
Right. Well, I mean, you were in the legislature for many years. It looks like that is going to be on the ballot.
It's rolling. It's rolling. But I can tell you.
And do you think it will help? I mean, your district, a larger percentage of minorities, a larger percentage of the poor. I mean, do you think it will disenfranchise? I mean, that's the argument that many.
There's no doubt that it will.
That it will unjustly disenfranchise people who are of low income.
It absolutely will do that. But you know what? We're fighting it every step of the way. If we're going to fight it getting passed, and we're going to try to let people know, because a lot of folks like you and I, we pull out our ID 3-4 times a day. But what we may not remember and recognize is that a lot of seniors, students, low-income people, they might not have an ID, yet they are eligible voters who have every right to cast a ballot. So we're really going to fight against this thing, and we're going to just remind people that that America has been expanding access to the ballot, not closing it down. I mean, the women's right to vote with the 19th Amendment, Amendment, 18-year-olds, 26th Amendment. We've been trying to get more people included in democracy, not shutting them out. This thing shuts people out. It shuts eligible voters out, and so we're against it.
All right. Well, Congressman Keith Ellison, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in.
You bet.
Great.